My name is Emily Harper, and I used to think my husband loved me until I heard him say 3 words that weren't "I love you." He said, "She's my wallet." That night, I did something that would destroy us both, but not in the way you think. My name is Emily Harper, and this is my story. The woman who froze her husband's $100,000 and served him divorce papers on the same night. But you don't know the real story. You don't know what it feels like to sit across from someone you gave 10 years of your life to, someone you held when his mother died, someone you worked double shifts for so he could start his business, and hear him say over the phone, thinking you were asleep, "She's just my wallet. Once I get the rest of her savings, I'm done." My name is Emily Harper, and this is the story of how I went from being a loving wife to a woman who destroyed her own marriage with a single click on a banking app. Let me start from the beginning, not the dramatic part, the quiet part, the part where I was happy. I grew up in a small town outside of Dallas called Willow Creek. My father was a mechanic. My mother was a school teacher. We didn't have much money, but we had love. My mother used to sit with me on the porch swing and say, "Emily, the world will try to tell you that you need a man to be complete. That's a lie. You need yourself, your own savings, your own dreams, your own spine." She opened a savings account for me when I was 12, $20 a month. She called it my escape fund. I thought it was a joke. I was a child. What did I need to escape from? When I was 18, my father died of a heart attack in his garage. My mother and I were alone. She worked 2 jobs to keep the house. I worked at a diner after school. I learned early that life doesn't owe you anything. You have to fight for every scrap of happiness. I fought hard. I got a scholarship to the University of Texas. I studied accounting because I wanted to understand money. I wanted to never be poor again. I wanted to never watch my mother cry over an electric bill again. I graduated with honors. I got a job at a construction firm in Austin. I rented a small apartment with yellow walls and a balcony that faced the sunset. I was 22 years old, and for the first time in my life, I felt safe. I had money in the bank. I had a future. I had me. Then I met Daniel Harper. It was a Tuesday. I was running late for work. I stopped at a coffee shop called Grounded. I ordered a latte. The man behind me in line was tall, with green eyes and a smile that made the barista blush. He was wearing a blue suit that fit him perfectly. He was on the phone, laughing at something. I didn't think much of him. I just wanted my coffee. He bumped into me, not hard, just a bump. But his latte spilled all over my white blouse, the one I had just bought, the one I had saved for. I looked down at the brown stain spreading across my chest, and I felt tears prick my eyes, not because of the blouse, because I was tired, because life had been hard, because sometimes small things break you when big things have already worn you down. He looked at me. His smile disappeared. "Oh my God," he said. "I am so sorry. I am so sorry." He grabbed napkins. He tried to dab the stain. He made it worse. I pushed his hands away. "It's fine," I said. "Just forget it." No, he said. "I can't forget it. Let me buy you a new blouse. There's a store across the street. Please." I looked at him. He looked sincere. His eyes were kind. I said no. I walked out. I went to work with a stained blouse and a bad mood, but he didn't give up. The next day, he was outside my office with a coffee and a bag from the store across the street. Inside the bag was a white blouse. My size. He remembered my size. "How did you know my size?" I asked. "I guessed," he said, "and I brought a receipt in case I was wrong." I laughed. I couldn't help it. He laughed too. We stood outside my office building, 2 strangers laughing at nothing. He asked for my number again. I said no again. He came back the next day, and the next. On the 5th day, I said yes. That was the beginning. We dated for 2 years. Those 2 years were the happiest of my life. Daniel was everything I had ever wanted. He was funny, attentive, romantic. He remembered every small detail. My favorite flower is peony. He bought me a peony plant for our first anniversary. My favorite movie is Casablanca. He learned the piano version of As Time Goes By and played it for me on my birthday. He took me to my mother's house every Sunday for dinner. My mother loved him. She said, "Emily, he has good eyes. You can trust a man with good eyes." I believed her. He proposed on a rooftop in downtown Austin. He had set up candles and flowers and a small table with champagne. He got down on one knee. His hands were shaking. He said, "Emily, I have never met anyone like you. You are strong and kind and beautiful and smart. I want to spend the rest of my life making you happy. Will you marry me?" I said yes before he finished the sentence. I said yes because I meant it. I said yes because I thought he meant it too. We got married on a beach in Galveston. Small ceremony, just our parents, my sister, his brother, and a few friends. I wore a simple white dress. He wore a blue suit. When he said his vows, he cried. I cried, everyone cried. That night, we sat on the sand and watched the stars. He held my hand and said, "Emily, I promise you, I will never let you down." I believed him. God help me, I believed him. The first 3 years were good, really good. We rented a small apartment with a leaky faucet and a landlord who never fixed anything. But we didn't care. We were young and in love. I worked as an accountant for a construction company. He worked as a sales representative for a tech startup. We didn't have much money, but we had each other. We used to have date nights at the grocery store, picking out cheap wine and frozen pizza, laughing like idiots in the frozen food aisle. He would push the cart and make silly faces. I would throw bags of frozen peas at him. The other shoppers would stare. We didn't care. Then Daniel lost his job. The startup went under. He came home that day with a cardboard box and a face I will never forget. He looked like a little boy who had lost his dog. He sat on the couch and stared at the wall for an hour. I sat next to him. I didn't say anything. I just held his hand. Finally, he whispered, "I'm a failure." I hugged him and said, "No, you're not. You're a man who lost a job, that's all. We'll figure it out." And we did. I picked up extra hours at work. I started freelancing as a bookkeeper on nights and weekends. I put my dreams of going back for my master's degree on hold. I told myself it was temporary. He would find something soon. I worked 60 hours a week. I was tired all the time. But when I came home, Daniel would have dinner ready. He would rub my feet. He would tell me I was his hero. I felt like a hero. I felt like we were a team. But Daniel didn't look for a job. Not really. He went to a few interviews. He got a few rejections. Then he stopped trying. He started talking about starting his own business, a tech consulting firm. He said he had the vision, the connections, the drive. He just needed capital. He sat me down one night and said, "Emily, I know you've been working so hard, but if you could just help me with some money to get started, I promise I will make it worth it. We will be rich. We will never have to worry again." I had saved $20,000, money I had been putting aside since I was 18, my mother's escape fund. I looked at Daniel's hopeful face. I thought about our future. I thought about how much I loved him. I signed the check. I gave him everything. He kissed my forehead and called me his partner, his rock, his everything. That night, we celebrated with cheap champagne and takeout. He held me and said, "I'm going to make you so proud, Emily." I believed him. The business took off, slowly at first. The first year was hard. Daniel worked long hours. He came home frustrated. He snapped at me sometimes. I told myself it was the stress. I made him tea. I rubbed his shoulders. I told him to keep going. The second year, things started to change. He got a big client, then another, then another. He hired his first employee, then 5 more, then 15. He moved the business out of our spare bedroom and into a fancy office downtown. We started making money, real money. We moved out of the leaky apartment and into a 4-bedroom house in the hills. It had a pool and a 3-car garage and a kitchen with marble countertops. I remember standing in that kitchen the first day, crying. Not happy tears, scared tears, because I had grown up poor and I knew that money could disappear. I told Daniel we should save. He laughed and said, "We're rich now, Emily, live a little." We bought 2 cars, a BMW for him, a Honda for me. I wanted a Honda. He wanted me to have something nicer. I said no. I liked the Honda. It reminded me of who I was. We started going on vacations. Hawaii, Paris, a cruise to Alaska. In Paris, Daniel bought me a diamond necklace. I didn't want it. It was too expensive. He insisted. He said, "You deserve it, Emily. You worked so hard for us." I wore it that night to dinner. A woman at the next table complimented it. Daniel beamed. I felt like a princess. But something was off. Even then, even in Paris. He was on his phone constantly. Business calls, he said. I believed him. I wanted to believe him, because the alternative was too painful. The alternative meant that my marriage, my life, my future was a lie. I kept working as an accountant for the construction company. I liked my job. I liked my coworkers. I liked feeling useful. But Daniel started asking me to quit. He said I didn't need to work anymore. He said I should manage the household, support him from home, be the woman behind the successful man. He said it with a smile. He said it with love, but there was something in his voice. Something that sounded like control. I fought back at first. I said I wanted to keep my career. He said, "Why? I make enough money for both of us. You're just being stubborn." Just being stubborn. Those words hurt, because they made me feel like my dreams didn't matter. Like my work didn't matter. Like I was just an accessory to his success. I quit anyway. I loved him, so I quit. That was my first mistake. I became the wife who planned the dinner parties, who remembered his clients' wives' birthdays, who made sure the house was perfect for his business partners. I handled the home finances. I paid the bills. I managed our joint accounts. Daniel gave me access to everything. At least, that's what I thought. He had a personal account that I knew about, and we had a joint account for household expenses. He also had a business account that I was not on. He said it was for liability reasons. I didn't question it. Every month, he transferred money into our joint account. $10,000, sometimes more. I used it to pay the mortgage, the utilities, the groceries, the housekeeper, the gardener. I was careful. I was responsible. I saved what I could. I put money into a retirement account for both of us. I invested in mutual funds. I thought I was building our future, but Daniel started to change, slowly at first, then all at once. He started coming home late, not just late, but cold. He would walk past me without a kiss, without a hello. He ate dinner in his office. He slept on his side of the bed with his back to me. I asked him if something was wrong. He said he was just stressed. Work was demanding. He had to travel more. He had to work harder. I believed him. I made him tea. I rubbed his shoulders. I told him I was proud of him. Then the comments started. Small at first. "Emily, why did you buy the expensive olive oil?" "Emily, do we really need the premium cable package?" "Emily, you spent how much on groceries?" I showed him receipts. I showed him budgets. I explained that prices had gone up, that we had a family of 2 and a dog, that we entertained his clients. He would wave his hand and say, "Fine, fine, just be more careful." I started clipping coupons. I started buying generic brands. I stopped getting my hair done. I stopped buying new clothes. I wanted to make him happy. He was not happy. I remember one night specifically. It was our 5th anniversary. I had planned a special dinner at home. I cooked his favorite meal, beef Wellington. I set the table with candles and flowers. I wore a red dress. He came home at 10 o'clock. He didn't apologize for being late. He looked at the table and said, "I'm not hungry, I ate with a client." He went to his office and closed the door. I sat alone at the table. I ate the beef Wellington by myself. It tasted like nothing. I blew out the candles and went to bed. He didn't come to bed until 2 in the morning. He did not touch me. That was the first night I cried myself to sleep. Year 6. Daniel's mother got sick. Cancer, pancreatic. She lived in Florida, so we flew there every other weekend. I sat with her during chemo. I held her hand. I cleaned her bathroom when she was too weak to do it herself. I cooked meals and froze them so she would have something to eat after her treatments. Daniel would visit for an hour, then go to the hotel to take work calls. His mother would look at me with tears in her eyes and say, "You're too good for him, Emily. You're too good." I would smile and say, "No, I'm lucky to have him." She would shake her head and close her eyes. She died 6 months later. Daniel was at her bedside. So was I. She held my hand when she took her last breath. Not his. Mine. I didn't think anything of it at the time. I thought she was just confused. But now I wonder if she knew something I didn't. I wonder if she had seen the same signs I was starting to see. The distance. The coldness. The way he looked at me like I was furniture. After the funeral, Daniel changed again. He became more distant, more secretive. He put a password on his phone. He started going on business trips that he didn't mention until the night before. He would come back with new clothes, new watches, a new car. I asked him where the money came from. He said the business was doing well. I asked to see the business accounts. He laughed and said, "You don't need to worry about that, sweetheart. Just focus on the house." Sweetheart. He called me sweetheart, but it sounded different now. It sounded like a leash. I started feeling invisible. I would stand in front of him and talk, and he would look right through me. I would ask him a question, and he would answer without looking up from his phone. I would try to hold his hand, and he would pull away. I felt like a ghost in my own home. A ghost who cooked and cleaned and planned dinner parties and remembered birthdays and paid bills. A useful ghost, but still a ghost. My sister, Rachel, noticed. She came to visit for a weekend. She saw how Daniel treated me. She pulled me aside in the kitchen and said, "Emily, what is going on? He doesn't even look at you." I made excuses. I said he was stressed. I said work was hard. She didn't believe me. She said, "You deserve better than this." "You know that, right?" I nodded, but I didn't believe her, because I had spent so many years giving to Daniel that I had forgotten what I deserved. Year 7. I found the first receipt. A hotel, not a business hotel. A romantic bed and breakfast in Sonoma, 2 nights, 1 king bed. I found it in his coat pocket when I was taking his clothes to the dry cleaner. My hands shook. My heart pounded. I confronted him that night. He looked me in the eye and said, "It was a client retreat. I had to take a client and his wife. They booked the room, I just paid for it." I wanted to believe him. I did believe him, because the alternative was too painful. The alternative meant that my marriage, my life, my future was a lie. But the receipts kept coming. Restaurants for 2, jewelry stores, a spa in Napa. I stopped confronting him. I started watching. I started keeping a folder. A secret folder. Every receipt, every credit card statement, every text message I could see when he left his phone on the counter. I became a detective in my own marriage, and I hated myself for it. But I couldn't stop. Because somewhere deep down, I knew the truth. I just wasn't ready to face it. One night, he left his phone on the kitchen counter while he took a shower. I picked it up. My hands were shaking. I typed in his password, our anniversary. How sad. The phone opened. I went to his texts. There was a conversation with a contact named Jay. The messages were short. "Can't wait to see you. You were amazing last night. I love the way you smile." I felt like I was going to throw up. I put the phone back. I went to the bathroom and locked the door. I sat on the floor and cried. I cried until there were no tears left. Then I washed my face, went back to the kitchen, and finished making dinner. I did not confront him. I was not ready. I needed more evidence. I needed to be sure. I needed to protect myself. Year 8. I turned 30. Daniel threw me a party. It was beautiful. Flowers, champagne, all our friends. He gave me a diamond necklace. He made a speech about how much he loved me, how I was his world, how he couldn't have built his business without me. Everyone clapped. Everyone cried. I cried too. But that night, when we got home, he went straight to his office and closed the door. I stood in the hallway in my party dress, holding the necklace, and I felt more alone than I had ever felt in my life. I started therapy. A small, kind woman named Dr. Patel. I told her about the receipts, the distance, the coldness. I told her about the text messages. She asked me if I had considered that Daniel might be having an affair. I said I didn't want to believe it. She asked me why. I said because I loved him. She said, "Emily, do you love you?" I didn't know how to answer that. I had spent so many years loving Daniel, supporting Daniel, building Daniel's life, that I had forgotten how to love myself. I went home that night and looked in the mirror. I saw a tired woman with dark circles under her eyes and a fake smile on her face. I didn't recognize her. Dr. Patel gave me homework. She said, "Every day do one thing for yourself, just one thing, something that has nothing to do with Daniel." The first week, I bought myself a book, a novel. I hadn't read a novel in years. I read it in the bath. It felt strange. It felt selfish, but it also felt good. The second week, I went for a walk by myself. I didn't tell Daniel where I was going. I just walked. I looked at the trees. I listened to the birds. I felt the sun on my face. For 1 hour, I forgot that I was Emily Harper, wife of Daniel Harper. I was just Emily, and that felt like freedom. But the freedom was temporary, because every night I went back to the cold house. Every night I went back to the man who didn't see me. Every night I went back to the folder of receipts and the secret I was too afraid to face. Year 9, the affair became impossible to ignore. I saw them at a restaurant. Daniel and the blonde. I was driving home from therapy. I took a different route. I passed a restaurant called the Golden Fork. Through the window, I saw Daniel. He was sitting at a table by the window. Across from him was a woman. Blonde, young, maybe 25. She wore a red dress. She laughed at everything he said. He touched her hand across the table. He looked at her the way he used to look at me, with love, with desire, with something real. I pulled over. I sat in my car across the street and watched. I watched my husband hold another woman's hand. I watched him lean in and whisper something in her ear. I watched her smile like she had won a prize. I watched him pay the bill. I watched him put his hand on the small of her back as they walked out. I watched him kiss her on the cheek. I watched her get into his car, the BMW I had helped him buy. I did not cry. I did not scream. I just sat there, and then I drove home. I made dinner. I set the table. When Daniel came home, he kissed my cheek and said, "Sorry I'm late, work ran long." I said, "It's okay, honey. Dinner is ready?" I served him his favorite meal, chicken parmesan. He ate it while looking at his phone. He did not look at me. That night, I opened the folder. I added the restaurant receipt. I added a note. Blonde, red dress, hand touching, kissed her cheek. She got in his car. I closed the folder and put it back in the locked drawer of my nightstand. And then I made a decision. I was not going to be a victim. I was not going to confront him and give him the chance to lie. I was not going to beg him to love me. I was going to get my power back. I just didn't know how yet. I started planning. I started small. I opened a PO box. I started having my mail sent there. I opened a new email account that Daniel didn't know about. I started researching divorce lawyers. I read articles about financial abuse. I read articles about emotional abuse. I realized for the first time that I had been experiencing both. Daniel controlled the money. He controlled my time. He controlled my emotions. He made me feel small so he could feel big. That is abuse. I had been abused for years, and I hadn't even known it. I called my sister, Rachel. I told her everything. The affair, the receipts, the way he talked to me, the way he looked through me. She listened. She didn't interrupt. When I finished, she said, "I'm coming to get you." I said, "Not yet. I'm not ready, but I will be, soon." She said, "I love you, Emily. You are so strong. Don't forget that." I hung up and cried, not sad tears, hopeful tears, because for the first time in years, I felt like I had an ally. Year 10, the last year, the year everything broke, Daniel became obsessed with money. Not just making it, but controlling it. He started asking me to account for every dollar I spent. He wanted receipts for the groceries. He wanted me to explain why the electric bill had gone up. He accused me of wasting money on frivolous things. Frivolous things like toilet paper, like dish soap, like dog food. I showed him the budgets. I showed him that I had actually reduced our household spending by 20%. He didn't care. He said, "I work hard for this money, Emily. I deserve to know where it's going." I wanted to scream. I wanted to say, "I worked hard too. I gave you my savings. I gave you my time. I gave you my youth. I gave you everything." But I didn't. I just nodded. I said, "You're right, honey. I'll be more careful." And I went back to my office, my small room with the desk and the computer and the locked drawer, and I cried. I cried until my eyes were swollen and my throat was raw. Then I wiped my face, looked in the mirror, and said, "Emily, you are going to get through this, but you need a plan." So I made a plan. I started with the joint account. Daniel had put $100,000 into that account 6 months earlier. He said it was for a big investment. He never told me what investment. He never asked for the money back. It just sat there. $100,000. Our money, but I knew deep down that he saw it as his money. He saw everything as his. The house, the cars, the business. And me, I was just an appliance, a wallet with legs, an ATM that also cooked dinner. I started moving money. Not a lot, small amounts. $50 here, $100 there. I transferred it to a separate account at a different bank, an account in my name only. I had opened it years ago before I met Daniel. My mother's escape fund. I had let it go dormant, but now I reactivated it. I put $3,000 in it, then 5, then 10. I told myself it was for emergencies, but I knew the emergency was coming. I just didn't know when. Then I hired a lawyer, a woman named Gloria Vance. She was 65, with gray hair and sharp eyes and a voice that could cut glass. I found her through a women's legal aid website. She specialized in high-conflict divorces involving financial abuse. I went to her office without telling Daniel. I sat in her leather chair and told her everything. The affair, the receipts, the emotional abuse, the financial control. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said, "Emily, do you want to save your marriage or end it?" I said, "It's already over. I just need to make it official." She nodded. She said, "Then let's get to work." We filed for divorce, but we didn't serve the papers yet. Gloria said we needed to gather more evidence, more proof of the affair, more proof of his financial behavior. She said, "In Texas, we have no-fault divorce, but if you want to protect your assets and get alimony, we need to show the judge what kind of man you're dealing with." So I became a spy in my own home. I put a voice-activated recorder in Daniel's office. I know, that's illegal in some states, but I was desperate. I was a woman on the edge, and I needed to hear the truth. I hid the recorder behind a stack of books on his shelf. It was small, it looked like a USB drive. It recorded for up to 40 hours. I checked it every few days. Most of what I heard was boring. Business calls, conference calls, him yelling at employees. But then, 3 weeks later, I heard it. It was a Thursday night. Daniel thought I was asleep. I heard him come home late. He went to his office. He made a phone call. I heard every word through the recorder. "She's just my wallet, babe. Once I get the rest of her savings, I'm done." I froze. My blood turned to ice. My heart stopped beating for what felt like a full minute. He continued. "She has no idea. She thinks I love her. Can you believe that? 10 years and she still thinks I love her. I just needed her money to start the business. And now I need the rest of her retirement account. There's about $200,000 in there. Once I get that, I'll file for divorce and she won't get a penny. The house is in my name. The cars are in my name. Everything is in my name." The woman on the phone laughed, a light, tinkling laugh. The laugh of someone who had never had her heart broken. "You're so bad, Daniel, but that's why I love you." He laughed too. "I love you too, baby. Now let me go. I have to pretend to be a loving husband for a few more weeks. It's exhausting, but it'll be worth it." He hung up. I heard him walk to the bedroom. I closed my eyes. I slowed my breathing. He got into bed. He did not touch me. He did not say goodnight. He turned on his side and fell asleep within minutes. He slept like a baby, while I lay next to him, staring at the ceiling, with my heart in pieces on the floor. I did not sleep that night. I got up at 3 in the morning. I went to my office. I opened my laptop. I logged into the joint bank account. $100,000 just sitting there. His money, he thought, his investment money, his escape money, his wallet money. I looked at the transfer button. My finger hovered over the mouse. I thought about the last 10 years, the leaky apartment, the double shifts, the chemo treatments, the receipts, the blonde in the red dress, the words he had just said. "She's just my wallet." My finger clicked. I transferred the entire $100,000 into my personal account. Then I transferred it again into a separate savings account. Then I closed the joint account. Then I opened the divorce papers that Gloria had prepared. I printed them, I signed them. I put them in a manila envelope. I walked back to the bedroom. Daniel was still asleep. His phone was on the nightstand. I picked it up. I knew his password. Our anniversary. How sad. I unlocked it. I saw the text messages to the blonde. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow. You're so beautiful. I love you more than anything." I took screenshots. I sent them to my email. I deleted the evidence that I had sent them. I put the phone back. Then I went to the kitchen. I made coffee. I made breakfast. Eggs, bacon, toast, fresh orange juice. I set the table. I put the manila envelope on his plate. I poured his coffee. I sat down and waited. He woke up at 7. He shuffled into the kitchen, still in his pajamas, rubbing his eyes. He saw the breakfast. He saw the envelope. He looked at me. "What's this?" I smiled. The same smile I had given him for 10 years. But this time it was different. This time it was mine. "Open it, Daniel." He opened the envelope. He pulled out the divorce papers. He read the first page. His face went pale, then red, then pale again. "What the hell is this, Emily?" "Divorce papers. I'm divorcing you." He laughed, a sharp, mean laugh. "You can't divorce me. Everything is in my name. You'll get nothing." "I don't want your money, Daniel. I want my life back." He stood up. He knocked his chair over. "You're nothing without me, Emily. Nothing. I made you. I gave you this house, this life, everything. You're just a housewife. You have nothing." I took a sip of my coffee. I looked him in the eye. "I have $100,000, the money from the joint account. I transferred it last night. It's in my name now." His face went from red to white. "You what?" I froze your money, Daniel. Every penny, it's mine now. You called me your wallet, so I took the wallet and I closed it. He started yelling, screaming, cursing. He threw the envelope across the room. He called me every name you can imagine. Bitch, whore, gold digger, the irony. The beautiful, painful irony. He called me a gold digger. After he had spent 10 years digging for my gold. I sat there. I finished my coffee. I ate my eggs. I let him scream. When he finally stopped, when he was out of breath and standing there shaking with rage, I stood up. I walked over to him. I looked up at his face. The face I had loved. The face I had kissed. The face that had lied to me for years. Your lawyer will contact my lawyer, I said. I have evidence of your affair. I have recordings of you admitting that you only married me for my money. I have screenshots of your text messages. I have 10 years of receipts. I have everything. You have nothing, not even the 100,000. That's gone. That's mine now. I earned it, every single penny. He tried to grab me. He reached for my arm. I stepped back. I pulled my phone out of my pocket. I had already dialed 911. I just had to press send. Touch me, Daniel, and I will press this button. And I will tell the police everything. And then I will go to the press. I will tell them how the great Daniel Harper, successful businessman, stole his wife's savings, cheated on her for years, and called her a wallet. How do you think that will affect your business? Your clients? Your precious reputation? He lowered his hand. His face crumbled. For the first time in years, I saw something real in his eyes. Fear. He was afraid of me. Little Emily, the housewife. The wallet. He was afraid. I walked to the door. I picked up the bag I had packed the night before. A small bag. Clothes, my passport, my mother's escape fund, the folder of evidence, the recorder. Everything I needed to start over. I'll send someone for the rest of my things, I said. You have 24 hours to move out of the master bedroom. The divorce will be final in 6 months. I suggest you cooperate, or I will make sure everyone knows exactly who you are. I opened the door. The morning sun was bright. The birds were singing. The air smelled like flowers. I stepped outside. I did not look back. I drove to Gloria's office. She was waiting for me. I handed her the folder. I handed her the recorder. I handed her the divorce papers that Daniel had not signed. She looked at me with something like pride in her eyes. Well done, Emily, she said. Now let's finish this. The next 6 months were hell, not because I missed Daniel. I didn't. I had stopped loving him the night I heard him on the phone, but because he fought. He fought hard. He hired a shark of a lawyer named Marcus Cole. Marcus was young and aggressive and had a reputation for destroying women in court. He tried to claim that I had stolen the money. He tried to claim that I was the one having an affair. He tried to claim that I was mentally unstable. He tried to turn our friends against me. Some of them believed him. They stopped returning my calls. They stopped inviting me to parties. They looked at me like I was the villain. But I had the evidence. I had the recordings. I had the receipts. And I had Gloria. That woman was a warrior. She shredded Daniel's lies in court. She played the recording for the judge. The recording where Daniel said, "She's just my wallet." The judge, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and a steel spine, looked at Daniel with disgust. She looked at me with compassion. The hearing lasted 3 days. Daniel sat on one side of the courtroom with his lawyer. I sat on the other side with Gloria. The blonde did not attend. But I saw her outside the courthouse once. She was smoking a cigarette and looking at her phone. She looked bored. She looked like she didn't care that she had helped destroy a marriage. I felt a flash of anger. Then I let it go. She was not worth my anger. She was just a prop in Daniel's story. I was the main character in mine. On the 3rd day, the judge made her ruling. She awarded me the $100,000. She awarded me alimony for 5 years. She awarded me the house because even though it was in Daniel's name, I had paid the mortgage for years from the joint account. She awarded me half of Daniel's business. Half. Daniel's face when the judge said that. I will remember it for the rest of my life. He looked like someone had punched him in the stomach. He looked like his whole world had collapsed, and in a way, it had. After the hearing, Daniel approached me in the hallway. His lawyer tried to stop him. He pushed past. He stood in front of me. His eyes were red. His face was pale. He looked 10 years older. "Emily," he said, "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Can we talk?" I looked at him. This man who had once been my whole world. This man who had held my hand on a beach and promised to never let me down. This man who had called me a wallet. No, I said. We have nothing to talk about. You said everything I needed to hear on that recording. I walked away. I did not look back. The divorce was final on a Tuesday. I walked out of the courthouse alone. Daniel walked out with the blonde. She was there in the front row, watching the whole thing. She didn't look so pretty anymore. She looked tired, scared. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But then I remembered her laugh, the laugh on the phone. And I walked past her without a word. That was 2 years ago. I am 32 now. I live in the same house, but it's different now. I painted the walls. I bought new furniture. I threw out everything that reminded me of Daniel. I turned his office into a painting studio. I always wanted to paint. He never let me. He said it was a waste of time. Now I paint every morning. I'm not very good, but I don't care. It makes me happy. I went back to work. I'm an accountant again. But this time, I work for myself. I have my own small firm. I help women in bad marriages get their finances in order. I teach them about escape funds. I teach them about joint accounts and separate accounts and how to protect themselves. I tell them my story, not to scare them, to empower them. The $100,000, I donated half to a women's shelter. The other half I invested. It's grown, not because I'm lucky, because I'm smart. I always was. I just forgot for a while. My mother passed away last year. Heart attack. She died in her sleep, peacefully. I was with her. I held her hand, just like I had held Daniel's mother's hand. Before she died, she opened her eyes and looked at me. She said, "Emily, did you use your escape fund?" I smiled and said, "Yes, Mom, I used it." She smiled back. And then she was gone. I think about her every day. I think about the lessons she taught me. Save your own money, trust your own gut, love yourself first. I wish I had listened sooner. But I'm listening now. Daniel's business didn't survive. After the divorce, his clients found out about the affair, about the lies, about the recording. He lost contracts. He lost partners. He lost his reputation. The blonde left him 6 months after the divorce. I heard she took his new car. I don't know if that's true. I don't care. He tried to call me once. Last year, I didn't answer. He left a voicemail. His voice was small, broken. He said, "Emily, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Can we talk?" I deleted the voicemail. I blocked his number. I went back to my painting. I have a new life now. It's not perfect. Some days are hard. Some days I wake up and feel the old pain, the old betrayal, the old loneliness. But those days are fewer now. Most days I wake up and feel grateful. Grateful for the sun. Grateful for my health. Grateful for my sister, who never stopped believing in me. Grateful for Gloria, who fought for me when I couldn't fight for myself. Grateful for the women I help, who remind me every day why I survived. I am dating again. Slowly, carefully. His name is Marcus. He's a high school teacher. He has kind eyes and a quiet laugh. He doesn't have much money. He doesn't care about money. He cares about me. He knows my story. He doesn't flinch when I tell it. He holds my hand and says, "You're amazing, Emily. You survived something that would have broken most people." I don't know if Marcus is the one, but for now, he is enough. For now, he reminds me that love can be real, that not every man is Daniel. I still have my escape fund. It's bigger now. I add to it every month. Not because I'm planning to leave Marcus, because I'm planning to never be trapped again. My mother was right. Every woman needs an escape fund, not because she expects to use it, because knowing it's there gives her the freedom to choose. To stay because she wants to, not because she has to. My name is Emily Harper. I am not a wallet. I am not a housewife. I am not a victim. I am a woman who was broken and put herself back together. I am a woman who was used and learned to use her voice. I am a woman who was frozen and learned to thaw. If you are listening to this, and you are in a marriage where you feel like a wallet, or a maid, or a ghost, please hear me. You are not alone. You are not crazy. You are not overreacting. You deserve to be loved, truly loved. Not for your money, not for your labor, not for your silence, for you, just you. Leave. It will be hard. It will be scary. You will lose things, but you will gain yourself. And that is worth everything. I froze my husband's money. I served him divorce papers, and I walked out into the sun. You can too. My name is Emily Harper, and this was my story.